Well, good afternoon and welcome to Cut to the Chase with Senator Chase. You've joined us for our weekly call-in town hall and radio show. And you can actually call in. The number here is 804-454-1366. That's 804-454-1366. You can call in, ask your question right here, right now. And I'm State Senator Amanda Chase. I'm your weekly radio show host. I serve you at the state level, not to be confused with the federal level, which meets in D.C. My office is at the state capitol in downtown Richmond. And so most of the issues that we address are state issues, not federal issues, unless we have Congressman Bratt. Or congratulations to our newly elected Republican nominee, Ryan McAdams, who recently won in the 4th Congressional District. We had him on last week. And we're going to have him on again from time to time between now and November. So this is still my first term in office, and I'm getting ready to complete my 3rd year. So I actually run for re-election next year. I represent the 11th Senatorial District, which includes all of Amelia, all of Colonial Heights, and most of Chesterfield. I'm a Christian, conservative, Republican, and in that order. I ran on term-limiting career politicians and returning the government back to people. And I feel pretty good about what we've been able to accomplish there. You can actually go online to virginiageneralassembly.gov, and you can actually watch pre-recorded session committee meetings. And so if you're bored or you can't sleep at night, I highly recommend that for you. And so today we are going to talk about health care. And I have Nancy Piotter, who is the Executive Director for Virginians for Quality Healthcare. And we've had a number of different things that came up this week, and we're going to talk to Nancy a little bit about those. And let's see if we can get Nancy on. Nancy, are you there?
Yes, I am, Senator Chase.
Fantastic.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Well, we're excited to have you on. And just to give you a little background about Nancy, she is the Executive Director for Virginians for Quality Healthcare. And we actually met at an annual Virginia Tea Party conference in Richmond, Virginia last year. We were both sitting on a healthcare panel and asked her if she'd be willing to come on the show and come on our town hall. And appreciate coming on the show. She's come on several times, actually, and she represents a grassroots organization of Virginia voters. And they are dedicated to restoring health freedom for patients and their doctors. And how? Through free market reforms that encourage competition, lower health cost, and individual responsibility. So, Nancy, it's great to have you back on Cut to the Chase today. And I understand today we're going to discuss some of the big health policy reforms coming from Washington and the impact on Virginians. So I thought what we would do is talk about the administration and how they're working hard to lower the cost of health insurance for consumers. And one of the things that they have done is they've opened up markets and they're looking at creating more choices for individuals. Earlier this week, for those of you who have been watching the news, the U.S. Labor Department finalized a rule on association health plans that will be particularly helpful to small business owners, their employees, and their families. So I'm going to ask Nancy to come in, and we want to make sure that we have affordable health care. And as many of you all know, we passed Obamacare here in Virginia. We are the first state since President Trump has taken office that has passed Obamacare in Virginia. And so the first question I'm going to ask Nancy is, at this point, for conservatives like myself who are fiscally conservative and are not excited to see Obamacare passed in Virginia, are there anything the federal government can? Is there anything the federal government can do, kill switches or anything else, where there's still hope of getting rid of Obamacare in Virginia?
Well, I think so, and that's the thing that keeps me going is what Washington is trying to do, and it's health. I've discovered how complex the healthcare sector is in our country, and there isn't one cure for it. So what's been happening recently are sort of a series of smaller steps that are beginning to give consumers more choice. And the association health plans is one of those things. And this goes back to last October when President Trump issued an executive order laying out a strategic plan for lowering health insurance costs and healthcare costs, and giving people more choices. And the first of those steps is the expansion of, as you mentioned, association health plans. This would allow. It exists now for larger employers, but not for smaller employers or individuals who happen to be sole proprietors. So this expansion of the association health plans would allow the same benefits to be enjoyed by the smaller businesses and individual owners, and would give them more bargaining power, so they could negotiate better deals, better insurance rates, and better coverage for their employees and for their families.
Now, this is very similar to one of the 6 bills that the Virginia Senate Republican caucus was pushing for, that we passed the House and the Senate, and the governor vetoed. Are there any differences between the Virginia Senate Republican branded what would you call it? I guess the insurance for the group insurance plans. Is there anything different between this national version and the state version?
Well, I don't want to speak authoritatively because I'm not an insurance expert, but I do know that the states still will be able to regulate these plans, and so what needs to happen is the state commissioners of insurance need to work with the Labor Department to sort of finesse how that happens. But this would, I think the end goal would be the same, what Virginia was trying to do. And Governor Northam was concerned about, keeping consumer protections in place. So that's one thing that, that will still be required. But there is definitely an opportunity here. And an example that I heard was, convenience stores that have gas stations. They could all pull together and could pull together with similar industries or businesses in other states and, be able to offer insurance to their employees. So this is an aspect of what you often hear is described as insurance across state lines. But again, the Virginia insurance regulations will sort of govern anything that is developed.
It's really interesting that you should mention insurance across state line, because that was actually my bill in the Senate, and Delegate Ben Klein was carrying the House version of that, and we actually worked with the Bureau of Insurance, the commissioner, in trying to move that forward. And one of the big concerns was being able to, if you're selling insurance across state lines and you have an issue or a complaint, then who would you go to, and how to make sure that the consumer is protected? And we said, well, it would be up to the Bureau of Insurance of whatever state you purchased the insurance from, so that you still had those protections in place.
Right. But personally, I would like to follow up with our Bureau of Insurance and just find out who they're working with, in the Labor Department, so we can kind of monitor how this is going.
Very good.
So that's very encouraging, and I think once people start this is another consumer friendly move, and we're very excited about it.
Now, I know I was reading an article. It's in the Society for Human Resource Management by Stephen Miller, and they were talking about small businesses. They can avoid some small group market requirements, and this was the DOL, the Department of Labor's final rule on association health plans, expanding their options. And it says a rule finalized by the U.S. Department of Labor on June 19th will make it easier for small businesses to band together to buy health insurance without some of the regulatory requirements that individual states and the Affordable Care Act impose on smaller employers. The DOL said the final rule, titled Definition of Employer under Section 3.5 of ERISA, Association Health Plans, will help small businesses afford better coverage for their employees. Critics contend that it's a way to get around the ACA requirement that plans cover essential health benefits. And I know a number of my friends who own their own business. This has been a big issue for small business owners is making sure that their employees get health care benefits. And so a lot of them have been going to Obamacare and getting their health insurance that way under the individual plans. And I know a lot of pastors, they've been doing the same thing. They've been going to the individual plans under Obamacare so maybe this is something where if you're a pastor and, you get a group of pastors together, I guess that could be a similar option, I guess, for them under this. Right.
Yeah. And, the fact that these, the smaller plans or the smaller companies still they don't have any flexibility right
Nancy,
now.
We're going to have to go to a break real quick. We'll be back with Nancy Piotter right after the break. Stay tuned with Cut to the Chase. We'll be right back.
Lately, I've been losing sleep, dreaming about the things that we...
All right. Well, thanks for tuning in today. It is the Town Hall, Cut to the Chase with Senator Chase, 804-454-1366, 804-454-1366. And I'll do my best to answer your question here on the air. And we're talking about health care. It's always in the news. It's number one on everybody's minds just because it takes so much of your paycheck now. Just health care is just really, the costs have gone through the roof. And there was a bill that I introduced this past session. And what we agreed to do is there's a current existing law which allows health care providers to provide to the patient the estimated cost of service. It's already a law on the books. However, you don't know about that, right? Because when you go in your doctor's office, do you ever see anything on the wall, anything posted that says you can actually ask your physician what your estimated cost of services are? 9 times out of 10, your answer is going to be no, and I'm working to fix that. I've been working with a director of Dr. I'm trying to think of his name right now. It's not coming to me. My vacation I think my mind is still on vacation, still in California. Dr. Brown, that's who it is, Dr. Brown, and the director, Dr. Brown. And we've been working on drafting a letter, and it's going to go to the healthcare professionals and letting them know that it's not against the law to provide the service. You would think that would be expected, right? An expected best practice where when you go to the doctor, that they would be able to provide you an estimated cost of service, but it's not the case. Now, dentists and I'm finding the orthodontists, they do this, but any other industry, any other healthcare providers are not necessarily doing this. And I think we have unsustainable costs because we don't know how much it costs, and you simply rely on your insurance to pay for it, but you really don't have any idea how much it's going to cost. And so I think until we expose that cost, shed light on that cost, that we're going to continue to have costs that go through the roof because we're going to be better consumers if we know how much things cost and we're rewarded for positive behavior, saving costs, shopping around, shopping doctors, and that type of thing. So this is an effort to make that happen. And so the letter is supposed to go out any day now. And so you can expect, hopefully, if everything goes the way I'm asking it to go, my hope is that when you go into your doctor's office, there will be a sign in your doctor's office that says that if you'd like to know the estimated cost of services for today, give the doctor 3 days notice and they'll give you that information. So that's currently the law. If things don't start moving in the direction, I'll reintroduce the bill in January to push for that because I think it's important. I mean, every other industry, whether it's buying a car or any other service, you're able to know your estimated cost of service except for healthcare. And I understand those of you who are in it is complicated, but we need to uncomplicate it and we need to work on this so that consumers can make educated choices. Because as it stands right now, healthcare costs are unsustainable, and we heard that from Mick Mulvaney as right before Virginia expanded Medicaid. He gave us he texted out and said, "Look, this is unsustainable." It was a hint, a Blue's Clues, if you would, for those of you from my kids' generation. I've watched one too many episodes of Blue's Clues, but that's what that was. He said, "Don't do it," and we did it anyway. And I want to tell you something. I don't know if you read arguments from the left or not but they say I was reading this article. It's by Katrina Vander Heuvel she's with a columnist with the Washington Post. And here's what she says. She says it's time for progressive and Democrats to unite behind Medicare for all. Under a Medicare for all single-payer system, the United States would join virtually every other Western country in recognizing health care as a fundamental right and providing insurance for every citizen. Sounds good, doesn't it? But who's going to pay for that? I wonder what their taxes are in these, they say, every other Western country recognizing health care as a fundamental right. Have you looked at how much they're paying in taxes as compared to the United States of America? These other countries are saying it's better off that, let the government take more of your money because they think the government is better at spending your money than you are, right? I don't agree with that. She says it would reduce the burden on employers, which bear the brunt of the cost of insurance today, and it would bring down overall health care costs because Medicare is more efficient than for-profit private insurance. It would be paid for with tax hikes on the wealthiest Americans, including a financial transactions tax that would curb risky, high-frequency trading. Well, I disagree with this lady, but it's what the left is going to. The left is pushing for a single-payer system, Medicare for all people, and that's what they're pushing. So let's just be upfront about that. They're never asking. The Democrats, I hate to say it, that they're just they're pushing to have more government control. And I know Nancy agrees with me on this one because she's been leading the charge with Virginians for quality health care. And Nancy, let's talk about a second reform that's going to help Virginians, and that is the expansion of short-term, limited duration insurance plans. Tell us a little bit about what these are.
Sure. These are plans that right now can be bought. Like if somebody is changing jobs and they need insurance for a short period of time. Currently, under Obamacare, you're only allowed to have them for 90 days. It usually takes people longer than 90 days to go find a new job and start their benefits again. But what President Trump has proposed, and I think this is going to be finalized in the next month or two, is that these plans be extended for just shy of a year, so for 364 days. So, that provides a little more breathing space. And there's a big push to make the plans renewable so that, you could extend it if you needed to. But these plans don't have the same requirements for essential health benefits that most of the Obamacare plans do. And so they're a little bit cheaper. And consumers do have that choice. In fact, some people who find insurance on the individual market too expensive for them, they'll go to these short-term plans, as a way to have some sort of coverage.
And once again, this reminds me a lot of, I believe it was Senator Sturdivant had a similar bill at the state level.
Yes, right.
That would do the very same thing. And it's interesting that this bill passed the House, the State House, the State Senate, and was vetoed by Governor Northam.
Right. Governor Northam wanted the legislature to study this for the next year, and the Senate had some really good health reform proposals. This one that you mentioned, plus the association health plans, and I think Governor Northam in his veto, he said he wanted he wanted more studies, and I think that we're all sick of studies. It's been proven that government-run programs are not efficient, they're not friendly, and they limit choice and they limit competition. So, that would have just been wasted time, but, to study it for another year.
So let's talk about the administration and Congress. They are currently working on expanding health savings accounts, and I think most people are familiar with health savings account, but maybe just describe for them briefly what that is and which currently under Obamacare are allowable only in conjunction with high deductible health plans. So let's talk about that for a little bit.
Right. These health savings accounts allow people to save money tax-free to be used for certain health expenses. But they are very popular. They've been around for a while. But under Obamacare, they were limited to people who had high deductible plans. And so, I'd really like to know which plan is not high deductible, because all we hear about are the high premiums and high deductible plans. But nevertheless, there are restrictions and limitations on who can have them and how they can be used. There are some bills in Congress, and I think Congressman Bratt has been a big proponent of expanding health savings accounts. So there are standalone bills to expand them, but there's also it's also part of this bigger.
Nancy,
reform.
I'm sorry, we're going to a break again, so stay tuned with Nancy Piotter. We'll be right back with Cut to the Chase. Welcome back to Cut to the Chase with Senator Chase, and I have Nancy Piotter on the phone today, and she is with the Virginians for Quality Healthcare. She's the executive director, and we were just talking about, I know many of you are in business, many of you who are not in business, you're looking for a more affordable way to provide healthcare for your family, and, we're no exception. I mean, we're all in this boat with you. Before the break, we mentioned Congressman Dave Bratt had introduced the Health Savings Account Expansion Act, and it's become more and more popular. These HSAs were created in 2003, and there are about 17 million accounts that hold more than $30 billion in savings now. The bill that he proposed offered a couple different reforms, increases contribution limits for single joint payer filers to $9,000 to $18,000 per year, repealed the ACA restrictions on over-the-counter purchases and increased penalty on ineligible withdrawals. It allowed HSA funds to pay premiums and direct primary care expenses, and then streamlined regulatory requirements included by eliminating the high-deductible health plan mandate. So, because we can go into that in more detail, but we as Republicans, we have solutions. And Nancy, let's talk about one of the biggest developments in health freedom, and that is a reform framework unveiled in Washington this week. Let's talk about the Healthcare Choices proposal.
Sure. We were actually downtown in Washington for the launch of this, it was rolled out by former Senator Rick Santorum, who I know has visited us in Virginia and in Richmond a number of times. But also with him was Virginia Senator Bryce Reeves, your colleague, and he spoke for a few minutes about what's taken place in Virginia with Medicaid expansion. But this proposal is a set of policy. It's like a framework that has been in the works for 8 or 10 months with a number of think tanks, policy experts, grassroots organizations. So there's been a lot of input from the ground up. And the launch this week was intended to show the support for it and get Congress excited about taking this up and actually writing legislation. But it would begin to, it's another step in this, step-by-step approach to improving healthcare. It would just in a nutshell, the biggest thing it would do would be to repeal Medicaid expansion. And it would, so it would repeal all the Obamacare spending. It would repeal the employer mandate tax, the tax penalty. And it would take all that money and convert it into block grants for the states. And this is very exciting because the money would be given to the states to decide how they should spend it best for their own residents. And there are a lot of protections in it for people with pre-existing conditions, for low-income individuals. But it gives the states the flexibility to really be innovative. And it's through innovation and through strengthening the private insurance market that we're going to begin to, get back to people having choices and more competition and bringing down the costs. of healthcare and especially health insurance. So they're trying to. Well, we probably don't have time to go into all the detail of it, but I recommend that everyone look at the details on their. They've created a website, a landing site for it, as they call it, and it's healthcarereform2018.org. So that's all together, healthcarereform2018.org, and the proposal is there, and it lays out more details. But the Senator Santorum will be the first to say that one of the focus points is to find legislation that will win 50 votes in the Senate, because they want to pass this through budget reconciliation, which requires a simple majority. So if they can get 50 senators plus the vice president to approve it, then it will pass. But we're very excited. This is something that that continues to give us hope that we can get back to a point where individuals and their families and with their doctors are the ones making decisions about their health care. Right now, the government is telling you what kind of benefits you have to have, what kind of services you're allowed to have, how much will be paid, and it's just not what hardworking Americans want to see happen. I mean, we want money to remain in our pockets, and we have control over how those dollars are spent.
And also just to have the choice, because under government healthcare, you really have less choices.
That's right.
So we want more choices. Nancy, thank you so much for sharing this information, and we're going to continue to follow up. Now, I know that, let's see, I'm looking over my notes here. There is a very tight timeline for DMAS to be ready to expand on January 1st of 2019, but the budget language doesn't require approval of work requirements waiver before implementing expansion. We talked about that briefly, and that was one of my concerns when we adopted Medicaid expansion, is that it was a work suggestion instead of a requirement. So it's basically full expansion. But we're getting ready to go to a break. But Nancy, I just want to thank you so much for coming on Cut to the Chase today. We really appreciate all your hard work on this issue, and look forward to having you on again.
Well, thank you so much for the opportunity, and thank you for all you're doing for health freedom.
Thank you so much. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with Cut to the Chase with Senator Chase. All right. Thanks for tuning in today with Cut to the Chase with State Senator Amanda Chase on WNTW. The number here is 804-454-1366. That's 804-454-1366. And I'll take calls this session right here. We've got about 8 minutes left if you want to give us a call. What I want to talk about next is the latest U.S. Supreme Court decision to allow states to collect taxes on online sales. And I know there are some people that are excited about this. I'm not, I'll be honest with you. I don't like paying more taxes, and I know you don't either. But bricks and mortar retailers are thrilled because they're having to pay taxes. It's those that are online that are typically not having to pay these taxes. And they're saying that the online sales could boost Virginia tax revenues by up to $300 million a year and help retailers with businesses in the state compete against virtual rivals for consumers. And there was a 5-4 decision on Thursday, and it overturns a 1992 ruling in Quill Corporation versus North Dakota that limited state tax authority to sales by businesses physically present in the state. And the majority opinion, which was written by Justice Anthony Kennedy, called the previous ruling an unsound and incorrect interpretation of the Commerce Clause in the U.S. competition. So, of course, we've always had this discussion, if you will, for a long period of time. You've got Virginia retailers who are for this. They're saying that, they are at an this is not an advantage for them. I mean, basically, if you're selling online, it's an advantage to you because a lot of people don't have to pay taxes. And now this is probably going to come before the General Assembly coming up next year. We'll have to decide what to do with these revenues. Virginia budget officials and lawmakers said the decision is long due step towards fairness for so-called bricks and mortars businesses that are disadvantaged by online retailers that don't collect and remit the same taxes on retail sales. I know that I'm probably going to dissent with my leader here, but I actually believe that if you're an online competitor, it's more difficult to get people to purchase because just think about it, apples to apples. If you don't have a brick and mortar place where you can go in and actually see the products, you're going to be more encouraged to buy with brick and mortar because you can actually see it, touch it. It's instant gratification. You can buy whatever it is you're looking at right there in the store and walk out with it. It's delayed gratification. If you say, you know what, as much as I want this item, I might save some money if I go online. I'll see if I can find this. I won't have to pay the taxes. I might save some money in the long run. So we have an opportunity here with online retailers where, they're kind of disadvantaged, if you will, because they don't have a brick and mortar place. So I kind of see it as, you're kind of trading one thing for another. Apples to apples, I think you're going to put a lot of these online retailers out of business because they don't have some type of incentive. Tell me what you think. I'm just curious because this is something I'll have to decide on. 804-454-1366, 804-454-1366. I'd love to get your perspective on. I'm just telling you my gut reaction, after hearing the news. I don't know. I'm not one for wanting to get excited that the Virginians are going to have to pay more taxes even on online items. Nancy Thomas, who is the president and CEO of Retail Merchants and co-president of the Virginia Retail Federation, said, "We made some headway in 2013 when Amazon was required to pay sales tax because they had their warehouses here. Then about a year ago, anyone who had a warehouse that was distributing online goods was also subject to tax, but we've never been able to get a ruling to disregard the Quill ruling," Thomas said. This is really, really big. So what do you think? 804-454-1366, 804-454-1366. Are you excited about when you order things online that you're going to have to pay taxes now? I'm not. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know. It just irritates me when politicians get excited because they're going to get more money in their pockets. And, what are they going to do with that money? So anyway, I'm interested in hearing what you have to say about that. So should brick and mortar retailers be thrilled about this? Of course, they're going to be excited about it. You go in, you buy tennis shoes or whatever it is, you have to pay the taxes there. But not always so the case whenever you're buying online, right? So we'll see what happens there. Interesting, very interesting. So while you're thinking about that, what do you think about this? So I'm looking at the Richmond Times-Dispatch, and they're talking about immigrant children claim abuse, and Virginia is going to investigate this. And there's actually, in Virginia, we actually have a Staunton area immigration detention facility. And you have children who are saying they were beaten while they were handcuffed and locked up for long periods in solitary confinement. They were left nude and shivering in concrete cells. And you have Governor Northam. He announced the probe in a tweet after the Associated Press reported the allegations. And, I've dealt with this, and I can't go into details. I've had to deal with talking with some of the prisons, and I had a 18-year-old that I was working with this week that did not seem to be like they were being taken care of. They should be taken care of. Had gone 4 days without a bath. And, I know that we have issues in our prison systems, and there does need to be reform. But let me tell you, I I'm very strong on crime, but not abuse. And so I actually agree with Governor Northam on this. We need to treat people civilly and with a heart. These detainees as young as 14 apparently said that guards stripped them of their clothes and strapped them to chairs with bags placed over their heads. That's just unforgivable. The incidents described in the lawsuit occurred from 2015 to 2018 during both the Obama and Trump administrations. Even in situations like this, I think there's a difference whenever you're breaking the law and you're committing a violent crime, and someone that is crossing a border. I think you're both breaking the law and there should be penalties, but I still think we should treat people humanely. And so we'll see what happens to that. The number here is 804-454-1366, 804-454-1366. We have a few more minutes. We can take your calls live on the air, and I'll do my best to answer any questions that you may have. And, let me know what you think. Are you in favor of actually getting taxed on your internet purchases? Are you excited about that? Virginia budget officials and lawmakers, they say lawmakers, hailed the decision as long due step towards fairness for so-called bricks and mortars businesses. Well, they didn't ask me. I didn't say that this was a great idea. I'm wondering who they talked to. But they said that they're disadvantaged by online retailers that don't collect and remit the same taxes as retail sales. It's a common sense, equitable decision that establishes a more level retail marketplace. And that was by my Senate Majority Leader, Tommy Normant, a Republican from James City County. I have a lot of respect for Senator Normant, but you can agree to disagree with folks and still be civil. Acknowledged the potential windfall to the state revenues, but cautioned against rushing to spend it next year when all legislators will face re-election. If you see this over and over again, whether it's, to get reelected, you see the politicians offering free stuff, whether it's free health care or free phones or, we're going to give you something, vote for us and we're going to give you this. I really want a politician that's going to get in there and say no and have that ability to say no. Because whenever they say yes, do you know who's paying for these services, who's paying for whatever is being offered by the politician? It's you and I, the taxpayers. We're the ones that are paying for this. And, if we're having a shortage in our rainy day funds, well, then, I think we need to do a better job of prioritizing our spending and cutting back in these areas where I think we can, which I have pulled out. Go Virginia is one of those projects that I would pull. I don't think the government needs to be in the business of picking winners and losers. I don't know about your business, but our business has never gotten any money from the government saying, hey, we want to incentivize you to grow your business. We had to figure it out for ourselves and what I call sweat equity. We did not have the government, the state, or the federal government giving the Chase family money to help our family. And I think it disadvantages other businesses that don't get the help. Instead, why don't you do something across the board, like the bill that I introduced that says that you take the corporate income tax, we're currently in Virginia at 6%, and lower that to 2.5%. Let's do something that helps everyone instead of picking winners and losers. We're going to be right back for the final wrap-up. Stay tuned. All right. Well, thank you again for joining us today on Cut to the Chase with Senator Chase on WNTW The Answer. I hope you will join us again next Friday for a weekly town hall from 6 to 7 p.m. as I answer your questions. Get your input and address issues that are important to you. If you would like to receive notices of upcoming events, and I know that we actually have one Saturday, tomorrow night. It's a GOP. If you go to Chesterfield GOP, you can find out. There's an event. Congressman Bratt will be there. I will be there. It's a Lincoln Reagan Day dinner, and the newly elected Ryan McAdams, who is our Republican nominee for the 4th Congressional District. I know for sure that the three of us will be there. If you're interested in getting tickets, Google Chesterfield GOP, and that event is tomorrow night, and I will be at that. But you can get upcoming events, town halls, and my weekly newsletter. You can visit my website at chase4senate.com and sign up. And during session, which we're still not finished yet, we still haven't adjourned sine die. We still have state corporation commission judges to appoint. But during session, I send out a weekly update each Friday. And out of session, we usually send out a monthly newsletter. And then, of course, you can always join us each Friday for our weekly town hall here at WNTW AM 820 and now 97.7 FM. So I hope you've enjoyed today. We've had Nancy Piotter, who is the Executive Director for Virginians for Quality Health Care, and learned some interesting things. A lot of people think that it's yes or no to health care. It's very important to most families to have health care. And I know Asher and I were talking here in the studio. We have a lot of our friends who are CEOs, and their health care costs are about the same as their mortgage. That's where we are right now. And so we have to do everything we can to get these health care costs under control. And I really don't think expanding Medicaid is the answer to that. I think what we're going to see are higher taxes and reduced services once this is fully implemented. They say that it's going to take 6 months to fully implement Obamacare. And so it's going to be interesting to see what happens between now and session, which our session for 2019 begins the second Wednesday in January. So it's going to be very interesting, and we still have to settle. Still have to work on getting state and federal law to comply. So there's talk that we will be ending up going back this fall to session. So we'll see what happens there. But Senator Chase, I appreciate you all tuning in. I do this every week because I think it's important as an elected official to stay accountable and approachable to the people that I represent. I'm not important to stay connected. And one of my campaign promises when I did run for office, and we'll be running again next year in 2019. So it's hard to believe 4 years flies when you're having fun, right? So anyway, again, tune in next Friday from 6 to 7 p.m. We'll have more Cut to the Chase with Senator Chase. And we'll be looking at what's going on in the news and trying to get answers for you on what really is going on. Hopefully we'll have more information about this ruling, which it sounds like some of my legislative colleagues are excited about. I'm not. I've got to be honest with you. I don't think this is a good idea. I'm not looking forward to that. I'm looking to reduce taxes, not look for ways where we take more of your hard-earned money and give it to the state and politicians. I want you to keep your money because I think you do a better job spending it. I know I do a better job spending than the government. And so I will be legislating accordingly. So anyway, enjoyed having you all listen in, and tune in next week, next Friday, to Cut to the Chase with Senator Chase. Until then, have a great week.